Steamboat Springs and Routt County in partnership with the Steamboat Pilot in today. My name is Lisa Slitchman, and I'm the editor at the newspaper, and I'll be moderating this morning. Today's panel, we are focusing on support for local businesses. And we know that they've been hit hard by COVID-19. And so today we've brought together a group of local leaders and business experts to answer your questions. And so I'm not going to say anything more. I want to introduce our panelists and get into our questions. So, and if you guys would just wave. First up, we have Steamboat Springs Chamber's CEO, Kara Stoller. Main Street Steamboat Springs Executive Director, Lisa Popovich. John Bristol, who is the Chamber's Economic Development Director. And Randy Rudasics, Manager of the Yampa Valley Entrepreneurship Center at CMC Steamboat. So thank you all so much for being here. I know you're extremely busy right now, so thank you for taking this time. So let's begin basically telling us a little bit about how your organization has changed to support local businesses during this time period. I don't know if it has or how you have kind of adapted and what you're doing to help local businesses. So let's begin with Kara.
Thanks. Thank you, Lisa, for continuing to host these town halls. It's a great way for us, all of us, to and many others to communicate to our neighbors and friends all the work that's being done to help support our community through this really challenging time. So thank you. For the Chamber, we overall as an organization, our high-level role hasn't changed. We have been in existence for over 100 years supporting businesses. Our work has been focused on advocacy, communication, and resource procurement, and that's been both prior to and in our current environment. Certainly the speed at which things need, businesses need answers, support, all of that has been heightened. But at the end of the day, we're here to help business owners as well as employees navigate this and hopefully come out on the other side sooner than later.
Thank you, Kara. Lisa, how about Main Street?
So much like Kara, our role hasn't changed that much. We are the connectors. So Main Street is really the boots on the ground for the economic development organization, like that big umbrella in town. We're that front line. So we're still in communication with all of our businesses and helping to connect them to the correct resources. And some of that's done through the Chamber, some of that's done through the Entrepreneur Center or Workforce. The way that we have probably had to pivot the most in the last 6 weeks is that there's more focus there than there is on some of the other periphery things that we do. Like those things have fallen away because this obviously is all consuming to all of us, and supporting our businesses is the most important thing right now for our organization. So the way we can do that directly is just be there to connect them to their resources. And for me, a lot of it is just listening and responding to their needs.
Thank you. John, what else would you add maybe about your role with the Chamber and maybe how you've had to adapt or change or increase your support?
Sure. The Economic Development Department is a function within the Chamber. So much what Kara said applies to the Economic Development Department as well. And it's really looking down the road, what's to come, and trying to understand the resources out there and provide information and clear communications to the community. That's been the biggest thing, filtering through what's out there.
Thanks. And I know that's a big job and it changes frequently. So thanks for staying on top of that. Randy, how about the Entrepreneurship Center and your job?
CMC, Colorado Mountain College, set up a program called CMC Responds several weeks back. We've eliminated tuition for summer semester, and that has increased our enrollment substantially for the summer. Many of our Classes are full going into summer semester. We've had our highest enrollment for many years. We've also stood up a variety of seminars and workshops towards the business community, health issues, food safety, hospitality, and most of those seminars are full, and we do expect to roll out another round of those in the coming weeks. We are also offering district-wide, college-wide business counseling for free. There's a link on our main website for people to go to if they want to talk to somebody that's got some experience in their area. We have 35 counselors and growing that can provide support in this area, including our Steamboat SCORE team, all the senior managers at the Steamboat Springs Resort Corporation, the ski mountain. We have a number of business consultants from across Western Colorado and some really good faculty that are pitching into this effort. So it's a good team. Personally, I pivoted my services from startups. It takes a lot of courage to start a business right now, but if you are doing it, believe it or not, to business counseling and resource connections, loan programs across the state, federally resources people can go to get some help. And we're trying our best to make sure people have the most information possible.
Thank you, Randy. That's fantastic. Kara and John, this next question is directed for you. So the Chamber conducted a survey with local businesses on the impacts of coronavirus locally. What did that survey show? Kara, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. We did conduct a survey and had a great response. It should be noted that the survey closed on April 8th. And as we all know, every day is what a week, and a week is a month, and all of that. So just putting that caveat out, but there were a few key takeaways, and we do plan on conducting a follow-up surveys as we move forward. But from that initial survey, we learned that 11% of the respondents estimated that they could survive just 1 to 5 weeks during the crisis if nothing changed. And another 27% said that they could last 6 to 10 weeks. Less than half of the businesses said that they could survive longer than 11 weeks. Granted, things have, again, changed. There's been opportunities to access federal funding through stimulus packages. So that those timelines likely have shifted for some, but that was really eye-opening for, I think, a lot of us. The biggest challenge we heard was getting access to capital. Not many of the small businesses have ample amount of reserves. So that was a big focus, and we've continued to make sure that we are communicating various ways that businesses can access capital. A couple of other items, 50% at that point had already said that they had either reduced their number of FTEs or reduced FTE hours. And then 50% expected their April revenue to be down 75% or more compared to April in 2019. Those are a few of the key takeaways.
Yeah, pretty sobering information. John, what would you add to that about the survey? Anything else?
Kara really covered it. The only other thing that I would add is that this is a typical tool that's used in economic development and by business communities when there is a crisis, is doing surveys and really gauging, what are the gaps out there, what are the needs, and how do we respond and be really targeted to the business community. So we'll be doing more surveys again, and this is an important communication tool.
A quick follow-up, did you guys have a good participation in the survey?
We did. I believe we had about 240 individual responses, which is quite a bit. And we asked business owners who owned more than one business to do one response rather than multiple for all of their various businesses. So we feel really good about the number of responses that we received, and are very grateful that people took the time to do it again in such a hard time. So, but it's really valuable information for us. I've been using that information in various committees that I'm on, helping with policy committee with the county and the transition committee, again, working with the county. So it's been really valuable and will continue to be.
Thank you. Next up, Lisa, I know you are focused kind of on the downtown corridor. So how are, those businesses doing? It's such a kind of surreal time to walk down and see downtown so empty. So how are our downtown businesses doing?
Well, honestly, they're hurting. It's hard to be closed for the amount of time that some of these businesses have been closed, but there are signs on the horizon that things are improving. So today, many retailers will open back up with their mitigation protocol, and they'll be asking you to make sure that you cover your nose and face, your nose and mouth when you walk into their stores. They'll have hand sanitizer at the door so that you can still shop. And maybe this is a time for people who live here to get reacquainted with the stores that we have downtown. I think lots of people, avoid coming downtown because it's so busy, but now it's a great place to take a walk. It's nice and flat, and there's some new fun things to look at. And then I think the restaurants who've been able to do curbside and delivery, that's at least some income from them. But please understand that both of these measures are in no way the answer. It's just the first step towards what they have to do to recover.
Thank you. And there are some I happen to park and see that, Ohana's opening up in their new location. So, there are these silver linings.
Totally.
Yeah. Let's go, Randy. This next question I'll ask of you and John. What are some of the federal services and programs that are available to local businesses or industries that are struggling, and how can people access that information?
There's a lot of websites and links out there that are being passed around, and they all have really good information. My favorite is the Northwest Colorado SBDC website. Erin McCuskey is our regional director. She's based out of Summit County. She's doing an awesome job communicating information. We're doing another webinar today like this at 1 o'clock. If you're interested in joining, let me know. The SBA.gov website has profiles of all the lending programs that are out there right now. And we have many ag producers in our county too, and the USDA.gov/coronavirus website has programs oriented towards the agricultural community. Also, don't forget the trade associations. The National Restaurant Association is doing an awesome job giving guidance to restaurants on what they can do to protect their workers and their customers, and trying to build some kind of format to move forward in the future. I also want to mention mental health, because the first month or two, maybe we've gotten through it, but it's going to continue to be tough. And Colorado Crisis Center is an important organization, the National Suicide Hotline, in our community reps. These are places that people may need to talk to somebody and get some strength to get through the next few weeks or months. Big deal in my mind. John, do you have any other suggestions that you might want to add?
Is that we've got businesses that are sitting on a certain amount of cash, and so they've only got a certain amount of time, and this is shown through our business economic impact survey. And so the goal here for businesses is how do they extend that runway so that they're able to make it a little bit longer. And so at the federal level, we've seen different legislation through the CARES Act specifically, which provides the Paycheck Protection Program. There's also the Economic Injury Disaster Relief Loan, as well as some other stimulus packages that we anticipate seeing. I want to underline right now, though, one that's really important, and we've seen some success here in the Yampa Valley, and that's the Paycheck Protection Program. The PPP. There's an article in the newspaper about it this week. We've seen a lot of conversation about it. In the first tranche, there was $349 billion made available through local banks, and those are dollars coming from the federal government. And local businesses need to talk to their local bankers. Now, those funds run out. Congress authorized an additional $310 billion. And so right now the applications are open for business owners. They can contact their banks. and go through that process, which is relatively simple. And it amounts up to $10 million. It's for businesses that have fewer than 500 employees. And generally what it covers is overhead as well as payroll for 2.5 months. And so the goal of that here again is to extend that runway so that businesses are able to stay in operations. The other one, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, EIDL, that's another program that you go straight to the Small Business Administration, U.S. Small Business Administration. So that's sba.gov. Those are really the two key programs that are available right now that I'd encourage business owners to take some time, apply for, talk to your local bank.
Thank you. And you're kind of segueing into my next question, which was, and we did report on it, but we do have people wondering how much money has come into the Valley through these programs. And you already mentioned, can a business still apply? And the answer is yes, right now with the second round of funding. And I guess the secondary question, this would be for Kara and John, and are these programs enough to keep our businesses open? And again, John, I think touched on that as well, but Kara, you want to start with that, answering that question, kind of a long question?
Yeah, as John mentioned, as soon as a business received those PPP dollars, the clock started ticking. So it is amazing in many cases, especially with some of the public health orders that are still in place. Thankfully, as Lisa mentioned, today, some of the retail shops are able to open, but other businesses haven't been able to function at full level, so they haven't been able to generate revenue. So the PPP loan helps employees quite a bit, but it won't be enough to help the businesses survive through this unless some major changes happen sooner than later so that people can start to bring in additional revenue.
Okay.
Sure, and if I can jump in, we know just by, kind of polling our local banks here that in the first round, there was at least 62 million that flowed in through our local banks. Our local banks here have done a tremendous job to work through this process, to take in applications and work with business owners. Really have to applaud them and their entire teams for this. But we know that there's a minimum 62 million that's flown into the community, and that's flowing into the businesses, and that's helping pay for continued operations with these businesses. In this next round, I would anticipate something probably maybe 50 to 75% of that as well. So it'll continue to flow in and give, as I said, give these businesses a little bit more room to pivot over the coming months.
Thank you. Lisa, we're already, we know a lot of small businesses in town, look forward to the farmers market every summer as a place for them to sell their products, their wares. So we do have questions about, do we think there is a possibility of a farmers market this summer? What are you guys, I know that's one of the major things that you pull together every year. So what's the future looking like for the farmers market?
Well, the short answer is yes, there'll be a market this summer. The longer answer is it'll look very different than the market that we're also accustomed to. It's really, the market is an essential service because it provides food for our community. It services about little over 50 local producers of meats, vegetables, other agricultural items, and then accessory items for that are food, like sauces and salsa, chips and salts, things like that. So we'll be allowed to start opening the market with those kinds of items. That equals about half of our normal booths. but there'll be certain restrictions. There'll be some spacing restrictions, there'll be distancing requirements, everyone with a mask, just like you do in a store. And if we all behave and do well at the market, we can start to add other things in, like soaps and lotions in tinctures, and then eventually some of the other artisan things that we're so used to seeing. We all have to do our part. We all have to follow the rules, and if we want these things that we love back, we've got to be respectful of them. That may mean that the market needs to take up more space than it has in the past. Right now, to just fit the food, we're going to have to take up the space that we've always used. So to add in those other things with the restrictions, it would be really big. But we'll continue to evolve all that. We still have about 4.5 weeks to get that all down. But yes, there'll be a market.
Well, that's great. That's good news that I think people will appreciate knowing. So thank you. Thank you for working on that and being creative. Randy, this next question is for you. What types of counseling and mentoring services are available to businesses? And who are the people and agencies available providing this guidance?
There's two primary service providers right now, and one is CMC through me to connect with the 3 dozen counselors we have on our roster. A lot of skill sets, finance, marketing, digital media. We have people that are have backgrounds in all kinds of areas, including science and in writing and things like that from our faculty. So if you want to get some help, go to CMC's website and click on the business support portal. There'll be a small worksheet to fill out, including your name, contact information, and what kind of assistance you're looking for. Also have high feedback on the Northwest Colorado SBDC. They also have business counseling services and can provide them free of charge, as is the CMC program, people that want to talk about an issue they have. We can't fix everything for sure. There's a lot of complexities out there, but being an entrepreneur in this time is very lonely. And having someone to talk to work through some complexities and get a different perspective on the problem you're facing can be a great asset and make you feel better and help validate the direction you're moving forward in.
Thank you. Would anyone else add to that? Okay.
This is John. I would just echo, when businesses are looking for technical support and resources, the work that Randy's doing with the Yampa Valley Entrepreneurship Center and the support of CMC is tremendous. Folks should contact them and lean on them, as well as the Small Business Development Center. So having business technical support is critical, and especially reviewing business plans and having somebody to talk to is so important. And there's tremendous volunteers there. So
I might add one more note is that as we move into maybe the second stage of this, when people are looking to reboot and they've gotten past the kind of crisis mentality, we'll still be there to help you figure out how to grow, how to pace up a bit while measuring your expenses into the future. It's going to be tiered growth. With people use the reference of a dimmer on a light switch, a little bit at a time, and I think that's going to require ongoing planning and maybe a whole reevaluation of some of your strategies.
Thank you. So you mentioned this kind of we are at this, stage where we're slowly reopening. So we have businesses that, and I think there is, the last panel, we got some direction from our government leaders on, mitigation plans and such. I would take it, and it can be, I'm here in my office and it's confusing, I think, a little bit about what's next. So Lisa and Kara, this would be for both of you. Maybe Lisa, start with you. What are you doing to, answer questions, provide that support to businesses who now suddenly can reopen, but maybe they're not sure exactly what that looks like? So what are you offering, Lisa, first?
So we have developed some more specific protocols for retail that we're getting out to all of our business owners. There are just things that if you run a store are very different than working in an office that you have to consider. So we've put together those lists for business owners, and we've developed some signage for them as well. They have to post differently and are regulated differently than a restaurant. So we're helping get them through that as well. And then, if they have questions beyond what we can help them with, we're putting them together with the right people that can help them get to the point they need to get to.
Thank you. Kara, what about you all? What's the chamber doing to help as businesses look to reopen?
Definitely. We have been partnering with the county and Main Street on a lot of efforts, trying to make sure that it is as clear as possible. There's still more information and detail that'll be coming out soon, but what we have today, we've posted on our website. We have a new Safer at Home page on our site that has some of the state guidelines by industry that I feel are really helpful to understand who is in that industry. I know some of that's a little bit confusing. And then B, what are you required to do? And then beyond that, it's the local public health orders that are in place, and trying to make sure that those are easy to understand. There's 3 main differences in my mind that are in addition to the state's stay-at-home order. One is that the short-term lodging ban, which has been in effect and was extended through May 31st. 2 is just the mitigation protocol, just kind of like walking you through what you need to do to be open, both if you are office-based or if you have a storefront. And there's more specifics through the mitigation protocol, as well as on those individual industry PDFs that are posted on our website. And then 3, which I think is a really important piece, is the requirement for customers to wear a face mask. The state Safer at Home order strongly recommends, but the Routt County Public Health order requires it, which I think is just goes along with what our community values are. It's not just about the customer, it's also about the person that's working and providing service and getting us to not only our basic needs, but other things that we want to have in our lives. And we will be able to start getting those from local shops here this week and in coming weeks.
Thank you. And I do know this mask, I do know United Way has kind of pulled together. I think if I remember right, they have 10,000 masks with help from some of with BAP and Big Agnes and Point 6. So I think if anyone needs a mask, they could reach out to United Way. They've done kind of a cool effort with that. I'm going to
just add on that one. I think that they are trying to encourage those who can afford to purchase a mask to go to a store and purchase one, and to try to reserve some of the masks that United Way has for those who aren't able to, that don't have the funds available to purchase masks. So I know that Ohana actually has face masks, and certainly others. We've done some outreach and are hoping to field more information about which stores are going to sell face masks. But if you do have the means and can purchase, and we can reserve those ones with United Way for people who are not able to purchase them, that would be great.
Yes, and I know I just purchased masks at Lions. I don't know how many they have left, but so thank you, Kara. That's a good clarification. And again, that's something that's been so cool to watch, is how many people have used their time to create masks. Not me, I'm not a sewer, but I really applaud all those that have. I want to ask each of you give you guys each an opportunity to answer this question, but I assume, I know everyone is dealing with this differently. And so what recommendations would you have for, a local business owner that maybe is feeling overwhelmed, worried about the future, worried about their employees? What kind of recommendations or advice would you have? So John, let's start with you.
Sure. I certainly go straight to the financing. I think that, there's a lot of stress that's around the financing and trying to figure out, where you stand with cash flow and getting open back up. So, taking time to go straight to the source through PPP or idle loans, and provide some relief there. I think that's really important. So start there. And I know Kara has some other good examples of recommendations as well.
Great. Let's see. Next up, Randy. What recommendations would you have for local business owners? Like where to start?
Start with defend your cash. It's king. Stretch out your vendor payments as much as you can. Renegotiate your lease. Stretch out your credit cards, and most of the companies are allowing for a bit of that. Certainly the loan programs are important. Number 2, hustle. Find different paths for revenue, delivery, curbside pickup, do-it-yourself delivery if you can't find anybody to do it for you. Promote your business aggressively on the market. Build a site mitigation plan for your business. Customers don't want to touch anything, so safety has to be a business value going forward right now. Build an online payment portal so there's different ways to collect revenue. Number 3, pivot. Bring some other products. Some restaurants are selling groceries because they can get cheese and we can't get what we want at a restaurant. So think about different ways and different things you can sell in your business to serve your customers. Refresh your website and social media content. So that's adapt. Next, learn new skills, grow. There's lots of stuff online to pick up, including the free programming we're doing at CMC. And finally, share, talk to someone. This is a lonely path to take. And I think sharing that with friends, business professionals, and counseling services like ours will help you get through it a little better.
Thank you, Randy. Kara, what advice and recommendations would you offer?
Really echo John and Randy. I think taking the month of May for those who, are open to have the opportunity to open up their storefronts and those who don't, but take this month to get comfortable with new protocols that are in place and, slowly gear up, step into this one day at a time. I know that there's business owners there's some that are super jazzed to open their doors and there's some that are really hesitant, and that's okay. You can take it one day at a time and adjust as you go through. The mitigation plans can seem a little bit overwhelming at first, but you have to, certainly it's guidelines that we really need to follow as best as possible. But if you find something that works better for you and you feel more comfortable with, let's have a conversation about that with the county and see if that works for them. One size is not going to fit all. And then I would say as we move into, the next months, staying in close communication, as Randy mentioned, reach out, talk to people, keep an eye out for the messaging that comes certainly through the chamber. We've been very diligent about making sure that we're bringing to the table just what business owners need and not trying to just make a really long email that you have to sift through. So go through those and go through what Lisa sends out and what Randy sends out. There's really quality information and guidance in those. And know that it's a two-way street. We are all here. I know we talked about Randy's, the business consultants, but our Lisa's here, the chamber team is here, and so many others. So just reach out, and if we don't have the answers, we will connect you with who does. It's absolutely a two-way street, two-way communication. And then staying positive. I know personally, I've had a hard time when people ask me how I'm doing. I'm like, when I've had bad days, it's been hard to just say anything otherwise than I'm doing okay. But if I'm feeling good, if it's a beautiful day out, it's okay to say that you're having a good day. And it's okay to be positive and be that focused on the future and a strong beacon for your team. It's okay to feel that way, and it's needed, honestly. So those what I would leave you with.
Thanks, Kara. Lisa, how about you? What would you add?
Unmute. I would say, gosh, you guys, that all made me feel so good from all of you. So thank you for saying all of that. I would say make sure that you stay flexible, because tomorrow is going to look different than today. We all know from the experience in the last 6 weeks that everything changes day to day. In business, we say the best predictor of the future is the past. But in this situation right now, there's nothing to base our decisions on. So be flexible, give yourself a break. If you don't, don't beat yourself up. Reach out to the people that can help you, and it's okay. Like the some of the best business people have failed in attempts that they made to fix things. So right now is a time of we're trying lots of different things, and it's not all going to work, but something might work. So don't be afraid to try it, but reach out to people who can help you, and know that you're going to be tired. So we're all learning during this time period, and learning takes lots of energy. And I think just us being on these kind of calls, these are very draining to be on Zoom calls every day, for long periods of time. It takes a different part of your brain to do all these kind of things. So give yourself a break when you're thinking, gosh, it's only been a few hours and I'm tired. There's a reason. So stay positive, stay focused, but give yourself a break.
That's all great advice. And actually that can be for anyone, not just business owners, for anyone out there. So thank you guys so much for sharing. Let's talk a little bit. We do have questions, and I don't know if you guys are going to have answers, but what are you forecasting the summer tourism season to look like? Let's start with Lisa, and then we'll let Kara add. Lisa, what are you guys forecasting?
I'm going to base my forecast on the chambers, the chamber, on occupancy. But I would say, optimistically, maybe down 30%. I don't know. It's a bad question for me.
Okay. Kara, how about you? I mean, I know it's hard, but if you guys tried to, forecast that.
So not, specific to Lisa's, 30% down, but we do work with several agencies that conduct weekly travel sentiment surveys, and travelers are returning to a more optimistic outlook about travel in the next 6 months compared to responses in the past several weeks. Again, the time is a very confusing thing these days, but things have been changing over the last, I would say, 2 weeks in terms of travel sentiment and the perception of traveling. Safely traveling is getting better. Most travelers agree that they're more likely to take a road trip close to home, which I think serves us really well. We've had strong visitation from the Front Range, and in terms of our destination marketing efforts, we are going to be focusing on the drive market, Front Range, and otherwise. And then travelers are they're slightly still concerned about contracting COVID-19 when they're traveling, but less so than they were several weeks ago. At the end of the day, there still is, lingering concerns about that health safety, as well as the ability to pay for travel. Certainly, so many people have been financially impacted, so that will weigh into decisions whether or not people will travel. I do think, again, that we are in a good spot for travel because of our ability we're a good distance from a number of metro markets where it seems like you're getting away, but it's still doable with your family and kids in the car for, 3 to 5 to 8 hours. And then we are also in a sweet spot in my mind compared to some of our other mountain destinations in Colorado in terms of price point. So we are not at the very high ends by any stretch in terms of, lodging rates and all of that. So I think that will set us up well. And then I've also heard that there is, and I know that this has been a concern for sure, but when we do want our visitors to come back, there is a thought from others that it is, open spaces, people aren't on top of each other like you are in a city, so that the mountains are alluring for people to travel to, especially coming out of this when travel is available. Right now, our June bookings are pacing 36% down compared to last year, and we're at 12% booked for June right now. July is pacing 30% down at 13%. Again, this is same time frame that we were looking at how much has been booked how much is on the books for those 2 months. And then August is down 10% compared to last year in terms of what is on the books as of, I believe that was logged just recently at the end of this last month. And then I think that we will see a very slow increase starting in June. There's obviously been a number of events that have canceled. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the Steamboat Marathon. The Mustangs have canceled. And that's a really big unknown, what the future is, if and how large events can function moving forward, including, weddings, which will really have those parameters on large events will heavily impact visitation. But at the end of the day, I think that all things considered, we stand in a good place to have people interested in coming to visit us when the time is right.
Thank you. That's tons of great
Friday.
information. Oh, Randy, go ahead. Yes.
I think the second homeowners, the people that have townhouses, homes here, can drive a lot of business too. They'll take advantage of the curbside pickup and some retail and certainly groceries and liquor stores. And that will help our community too. And they have their own homes to go to. They don't need to be out and about as much. I'm hoping that the door opens a bit to welcome those people back and they can drive some revenue, sales tax in our community.
Very good. And, and I would hope too, sometimes, locals can complain about busy summers. And so, again, a silver lining, like Lisa mentioned, downtown less busy, you'd hope that we get more local support of our businesses as well. And people can enjoy maybe a little bit of a quieter summer. So great. Let's see. We're going to end. We're kind of ending a tad bit early, but our next panel is actually looking kind of at the recovery side of business. So we'll be covering some of that. So if anyone's wondering why we haven't gone that far, we're going to be covering that in our next panel. So kind of the last question before closing, you guys have a chance to kind of make some closing comments, is I guess directed at Kara. Do you know of any community programs that residents can participate in to show their support for local businesses? We get asked this a lot. So people want to help. So what can they do?
There are a number of, I think, small kind of like group efforts that have been put together. But what I would like to share is that the best thing for our community members to do right now is to shop local. To, starting today, you can get into some of those retailers. Even if you can't, you can purchase gift cards from them. You can get takeout from restaurants. This is the perfect time when we think that we've gone out too much. Go out too much and get that takeout. That is, in essence, what will make a difference for our community. As I mentioned, we don't have visitors here. We won't have visitors here for another month. We really need to rely on each other and to infuse money into the local businesses right now so that they can survive this.
That's great. Thank you. So I guess we'll give each of you guys an opportunity to kind of maybe share something that we didn't cover. So kind of as a closing comment or statement. So John, let's start with you.
Sure. Thanks again, Lisa, for inviting us for this. In closing, I'd encourage business owners to take time and look at our recovery and resiliency guide, which is put together by the Colorado Small Business Development Center. We've got it on our website. You can also find it on others. It's a very large document, but as this progresses through the economy, this will have different impacts on different sectors of the economy. And I would encourage businesses perhaps that maybe haven't felt a direct impact just yet to take time and look at that and plan ahead, because we will see some impacts through other sectors, and now is a good time to be planning. Consumer confidence will change, and there'll be a lag in spending patterns, and so we need to expect that and anticipate that. So we'll get through it. There's opportunities as well. So thanks again, Lisa. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Next up, Lisa, what would you like to say in closing?
Thank you, Lisa. I would just like to say that, our small businesses across our community are really the backbone of our community. They represent all of us, and downtown is the heart of that. And take some time, shop local, spend your money here. If when you buy something in Steamboat Springs, 80% of your dollar stays here in Steamboat Springs, as opposed to up to maybe 12 cents out of that dollar when you buy something on Amazon. So take the time, see what's here, shop local.
Thank you, Lisa. Randy, how about you?
Small business owners are awesome. They have the risk tolerance to go out and start a new business. That risk tolerance will serve them well in this time. They have better customer service skills than most big companies. They treat customers like family. That's what we need to do right now. We have a community around us that's supportive and helps each other. This is a great time, as others have said, to do that. We have great local bankers that understand small business issues and aren't necessarily corporate oriented. And finally, build safety into your basic business model. It needs to be something that's out front because we're all conscious of it, especially guys like me that are over 60. So the more safety you build into your business, the more likely I am to visit your business. So hang in there. We'll get through this together.
Thank you, Randy. And finally, Kara, what would you close with?
One thing I felt I didn't hit today is that in the clarification of safer at home, it's not just retail businesses that can be open. Personal services is also able to start to function, and as a landscaping and all of that. So it's more than just retail businesses that are getting back at it starting today and next week. So get out there and support them as well. Just echo shop local. And this is, again, it's a two-way street. We have to take personal responsibility of our health and safety. It can't just be, you know, the county or one entity saying that you have to do something. We all need to make it a norm to wear our masks when we're in public and take care of one another.
Thank you so much. So that'll bring us to the end of our town panel. And again, thank each of you guys for being here. Every time we do these panels, I'm just reminded of the great people that we have in leadership positions throughout our community. And I know how hard you all are working and to support local businesses. So thank you for that. Sincerely, and I know you're busy people, so giving us an hour is huge, so thank you. And I guess I want to echo too, I mean, shop local, that is so important. And also we need to, like Kara said, we're kind of in this tenuous time, and if we want to be more open, we have to be responsible. And we have to take those safety precautions. So I know we can do it because that's what Steamboat does. We do things well and we excel at that. So again, we say it a lot, you know, we're stronger together. And I would also, no one is alone. There is help throughout this whole community. So please, if you're struggling as a business, as an individual, there's a lot of people here that can help. You don't have to go through this alone. So again, thank you for your time. We'll be back doing another panel on Tuesday. And as usual, you can send your questions to covid@steamboatsprings.net or news@steamboatpilot.com. I hope everyone gets outside and enjoys the beautiful weather and has a great weekend. Thank you all. Bye.